Welcome back to the Burner Turner Show. I'm your host, Wayne Turner. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving last week. It's a little weird for me. I usually go back to Boston and hang out with family, but Louisville's home now, so I just enjoyed it with my daughter. And I hope everybody got a chance to eat some good food. Today, on my show today, very special person, someone I got to see actually way before I even met any of my other teammates. This guy was the 1998 most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament. He also played in the NBA with the Atlanta Hawks. One of my favorite teammates. I got a lot of favorite teammates. I played on a few teams, but this guy definitely was someone who I looked up to when I played at Kentucky. Out of Peachtree City, Georgia. My backcourt mate, Mr. Jeff Sheppard. Bro, how you doing, man? How was Thanksgiving?
Oh, I had a great Thanksgiving. Thankfully, most of my family is in Kentucky, and so I got to spend Thanksgiving with most of my family. My daughter was able to come home from college. Our son is in high school, and my mom and sister were not able to come out. They live out in Colorado now, but my wife's family is a big family, and they celebrate Thanksgiving over like 3 or 4 days. So we had a wonderful time. Wonderful time. Great to be with you, Wayne.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad you guys was able to, relax and enjoy some family time. I was telling, one of the guys that, Jeff was real smart about hiring his teammates to be ushers at his wedding. Hey, that was the first time that was the second time I had ever put on the tuxedo, bro. So thank you, man. I felt like I was clean and I was doing something, but I still remember that like yesterday, and I still got that Bible. I still got that Bible you gave me, and it ain't gonna leave me, bro. It's staying with me for life. But it's moving forward. You're one of the teammates that I actually got to actually see in high school, play in high school. And I remember, it was a tournament called the Boston Shootout, and the Boston Shootout, it was a tournament that really wasn't recognized as much because a lot of coaches. College coaches couldn't come and watch and recruit there, but there were a lot of analysts and people who, wrote those Hoop Scoop magazines and gave the report of the tournament. I remember it being sponsored by Reebok, and it was televised. And, the best thing about it was you got to play in the Boston Garden, for the championship, or if you made it to the semifinals. And rest in peace. The Celtics commentators, they commentated that game, so it was almost like you was playing in the NBA game. And as a kid growing up, I always watched those games, those tournaments, and I remember you being one of the guys standing out. Obviously, you had won that dunk contest. How was that tournament for you? Because you guys kind of come out of nowhere, and you was one of the first guys that I had heard about going to Kentucky. And I was like, wow, this guy, he's good. He's going to Kentucky to play for Rick Pitino. This is awesome. But how was that tournament for you? I always wanted to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, Wayne, you're talking about 1992, 1993. And, the reason I bring that up is because today, you can find video of high school players all the time. Right now, there's a lot. ESPN does a good job of covering high school sports, so you get to see kind of the elite players, even now, playing against each other, even through the coronavirus with the issues that we have here. But in 1992 and 1993, to first of all travel from Atlanta to Boston to play in a high school event was uncommon. It was just the ability to get on an airplane and fly to play a game was just such a big deal. I compare that to my son, who is 16 years old. He's already been to Texas and Las Vegas and Portland and all over Indianapolis and Ohio and Washington, D.C. It's just a weekend for him to be able to hop on an airplane and fly. So times have changed so much. So for us, it was a huge deal to be able to travel and then to be able to play against the best players in the country and to, put a cherry on top to be able to play at the Boston Garden, which is a once in a lifetime experience. It really is. And I got to be able to do that. And it was also wonderful for the recruitment process for me. Because back then, when you didn't play against the elite players much. You played in your area and you had heard about these other players, but you never got to play against them. And again, comparing that to today's world, these guys have played against each other for 6-7 years sometimes. By the time they get to college, they're good friends. They know each other from the AAU circuit. And so just a much different atmosphere, but it was wonderful for me for sure.
Well, that's awesome, man. And yeah, I definitely see that change. I think when I was, coming out, it was probably like, we probably had like 3 AAU teams in the whole city that, just traveled outside the city and played. But that always stood out with me when I, every time I saw you in school and even after school now, that always stands out. I remember when Jeff, came down to the Boston shootout. So I had to, get that out, ask you about that experience. Because there was a lot of tough players in that tournament. I remember Randy Livingston. People don't know who Randy Livingston is. I learned who Randy Livingston, the real Randy Livingston, not the one that ended up at LSU, the other guy. And people were like, he was that good? I'm like, yeah, Randy Livingston was all that.
Mm-hmm.
But moving forward, also you were a teammate, once we left school, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, and I'll get back to it, but you were one of the guys who I ran into after school. After we left school, we obviously went pro, and I saw you in Italy. That was like the last time. That was like the last time I had, made contact with any of my, teammates from 1996 and 98. And, seeing you was like, wow, because it felt like we was in another world. I think the last time I had saw you before Italy was we were with the Celtics for a little while on their summer league team. And I remember you taking off. He was like, all right, I'm out. Celtics not signing me. I'm gone. I'm going to take this job over in Italy. And for me, it was inspiring because I was like, man, Jeff's gone. His career's on, it's off to the races. And you were like 2 years out. And I was still, trying to hang in there, hang on. But running into you in Italy definitely opened my eyes about the pro level because you had just been with the Hawks. And, I remember us beating y'all.
No, I was going to bring that up.
Well, what was it like playing in Rome? Because Rome, for me, seeing Rome was it was like a different, because I was in a little small town called Imola. Mm-hmm. And Rome, obviously, we drove everywhere. And Rome was probably like a 4 or 5 hour drive or something like that. And when I got there, I was like, oh, this is a little different from where I am. People actually speak a little more English in this part. But I always wanted to know, because you were over there with Jerome Allen and Scooney Pym, what was that like?
Yeah, Rome was a great experience for me. We had a really good team. Just living in Rome and being able to have a few months of that culture proved to be really valuable kind of just for the rest of my life, just to be able to, putting basketball aside, saying, I got to actually live in Rome, Italy. And I remember having a teammate who was half Italian, half American. So he spoke fluent Italian and fluent English. And he was single. And during that stretch of time when I was in Rome, Stacy, my wife, and our daughter, Madison, had just been born the summer before, and they were still in the States. They were planning on coming over, but they were still in the States. And so I was there by myself for a few months. And I remember this teammate and I, man, every single night we went somewhere different in Rome. And he was from the area and knew the area well. So I got to really travel through Rome and experience Rome, eat in the restaurants that are not the tourist spots, that are kind of behind the scenes. And it was a wonderful experience for me. I also got to live up close to Venice, just outside of Venice. And Stacy and I were there our first year in Treviso there. And Wayne, I didn't know how good I had it right there, buddy. That was the team that I went to play the first year. I had no idea what the culture was like. I had no idea. Comparing it to Kentucky basketball and the NBA, it was just different. And when I look back, I was like, oh, what an idiot. Why didn't I sign this real long contract with that organization? That was a wonderful organization that really looked after their players well. And I played with Tyus Edney from UCLA. We had a really good team.
I played against Tyus over there. Yep, I got a chance to play against him.
Yeah, and actually played against a young Manu Ginobili over there. I don't know if Manu.
Yes, I did. I played against Ginobili over there as well. I tell people that. I don't think anybody believes me, but I tell them. He had goggles, right? Did he wear goggles?
Yeah.
Ginobili wore goggles.
So a lot of great players over there, a wonderful organization, wonderful league. The people love sports. Of course, soccer is just king over there, but they love their basketball also. They know a lot about basketball. Croatia and Greece and Turkey and Germany and France. All of those countries over there are really producing really nice athletes, and they play a nice style of game that's kind of similar to the college game, and that fit me really well. And so it was a very positive experience over there for me.
Definitely. I enjoyed Italy like so much. It was like probably one of my first stops, first taste of, and man, the food was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you started to learn your way around a little bit, it was like, oh man, I could live over here. This place is amazing. I got to see, Reggio Calabria. You could see Sicily from, you could see it. That was amazing for me. And I'll never forget that. That's definitely something that sticks in there, especially, seeing you, Jerome Allen, and Scooney Penn over there. I was like, wow, this is another world. This is real. This is real over here. Real overseas. But just backing up a little bit, because I know you've, growing up, you've always wanted to play at Kentucky. That was something that I learned about you, especially your senior year. And I always wondered who influenced you to go to Kentucky? Like, when did you decide that you want to play at Kentucky?
Yeah, when I was in sixth grade, I wrote a paper for my English class that I wanted to trade places with Larry Bird and play for the Boston Celtics. But first, I wanted to play for the University of Kentucky and go to the Final Four for the University of Kentucky. And when Eddie Sutton was the coach at Kentucky, I actually came up and went to basketball camp. I had a good friend. His grandparents were from Richmond, Kentucky. And he said, hey, I'm going to go to the University of Kentucky basketball camp. You want to go? And so we came up and went to basketball camp at Kentucky, and I got a feel for Kentucky basketball then. I was a huge Rex Chapman fan. Loved Rex, and so he, being at Kentucky and then going on to have a pro career, was somebody I looked up to. But then Coach Pitino came into Kentucky and just really turned things around. And guys like, Sean Woods and Darren Feldhouse and John Pelfrey and Richie Farmer. Then the wave of Mashburn. Jamal Mashburn was a guy that really doesn't get as much credit as he should in helping really turn things around at Kentucky. Coach Pitino was the coach, but a lot of people were hopping on Mashburn's shoulders, and he was carrying them. And a couple of breaks here or there, and they won a national championship in 1993. But so much tradition and so many key players, and just thankful that God opened the door for me to have a shot at Kentucky and to be there and to play and develop. And boy, what a wonderful time, Wayne, for us to be at Kentucky. You look back and all of the great teams that Kentucky's had and that they still have right now, and you just look at how difficult it is to win SEC championships and national championships. And we were able to really have a heck of a run in the 90s there while we were there.
Yeah, no question. Man, for me, for us, it was almost like normal, to get to the Final Four. And did you know that Pat Riley went to Kentucky before you went? I had no idea.
Yeah, I did. But not like when I was a little kid or anything. When I got to Kentucky, Mr. Kitely, I kind of learned a lot of the history from Mr. Kitely, as most of us did. So, just another, icon in Kentucky basketball history.
Right, exactly. Looking in hindsight, you sat out your 1 year, and, it was probably, the best decision in my eyes that, a player could make for his career, because you came back the next year and you was the most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament. I'm thinking, man, that was a great decision. But at the time I was like, man, we need Jeff. You know what I'm saying? So, I always wondered what was, looking at it now, what went through your head that, during that season? Because we went all the way to the, the final game, and there you was, one of our guys down, and I'm like, Shep.
It's interesting, Wayne. I've answered that question a lot. I've never answered it from you. And as you were asking me that question, I kind of started thinking of that from your perspective. And for the first time, it's completely different, because, when you go through so much preseason training and so much preparation, and then things happen in a season, and, you remember it a lot better than I do. The 97 run through the NCAA tournament, Kentucky was really, really thin. I mean, we were, Derek Anderson had just gotten hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I had made the decision to redshirt after Coach Pitino asked me to redshirt. You and Anthony Epps were 2 point guards out there, as our guard.
And the four.
Yes, we were just all over the place, and still a point or two away, a play away from another national championship. And, looking at it from your eyes, there I am over in street clothes, and that I could have maybe made a little bit of difference here or there. So that was a tough one, not only for me, but for everybody through that season. And then to go through all of the transition that we went through, going from Coach Pitino to Coach Smith, and the unknown of that, and trying to, get a new system in place and trying to still play a successful system that we had. But looking back, it was definitely all worth it, and of course the run in 1998, the way that we were able to finish, definitely made it worth it. But I think about all the life lessons that I learned through that, Wayne. And in today's game, there is zero patience at the college level anymore. I mean, for someone to redshirt, absolutely not am I going to redshirt. The rules now allow the transfer portal is completely different, so you can transfer and play immediately. I joke and say, hey, I was 5 and done at Kentucky. And the only reason I was 5 and done is because they kicked me out at that time. I couldn't stay a 6th year. I would have been a 6-year senior. I was starting to lose my hair. But it was wonderful, man. It was so many great memories. And now, so many years later, I'm 46 years old. I've got a daughter in college, a son in high school, working every day, and just remember those lessons and apply them to my life on a daily basis. It's an incredible advantage to have going through some things, good and bad, with people, with incredible leadership pouring into you, with pressure being applied, and having to perform both in the classroom and on the basketball court under those rules, those pressures, prepares you for the rest of your life.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember, Jarrett kind of going through it in '96, and you experienced it in '97. And I always, because I know it was when I fouled out. It was hard for me to sit down there for those 2 minutes. I'm thinking you the whole, it had to be, tough seeing, you were in the game. I know you were in that game. And it's something that, it'll always stand out there, always be a question. And thanks for answering that for me, because I know I used to be like, man, we need Shep. We need Shep. For us, it was always important for us to get off to a good start during the season. That was something, we prepared for. We always prepare for, that first stretch of games in our preseason, because it was tough. Did you see the game last night? Yeah. The other night. And, I watched a little bit of the second half, and, I was just curious. What is it? Why aren't they getting off to the start that everybody expected them to? Just from your perspective, like, why do you think that is? What do you see? Team?
Wayne, I don't think you can underestimate the power of experience. And I know the game is completely different. The college game is completely different these days. But I know how I was as a freshman. I didn't know what was right and what was left. I was so lost for so long, coming in and trying to understand the speed of the game, the strength of the game, the new system, the level of intensity that we had to play in. And I can't imagine 7 of us coming in together, 8 of us coming in together, really not knowing each other, not going through a lot of things, and being thrown out onto that court with those bright lights, with the expectations that exist. You know, we had a tremendous advantage because of our style of play, right? We had worked and trained, and we had this full court press that from the first second that the game started, we were going to be aggressive. We might foul out, we might get beat, but you were going to have to deal with our pressure for 40 minutes. And that allowed us to not shoot it well. It allowed us to have an off game. It allowed one person to get in foul trouble. And we just had that advantage. And I don't know why a lot of people don't play that way. You just don't see it that much. You don't see anybody committing to 40 minutes of full court pressure, push the ball, really try to score a whole bunch of points anymore. They just don't. And I don't know why. It was very, very popular in the 80s and the 90s. UNLV, Arkansas, Loyola Marymount, Kentucky, you know, a lot of people were playing that real fast style play from a defensive standpoint. And of course, it's a little bit more difficult. They seem to be calling a lot more ticky-tack fouls now, so maybe coaches don't think that they can do that. But back to your question, you know, I think it comes down to experience. I think it's not Coach Cal's fault. It's not the player's fault. It's so difficult to know how a group of kids that have never played together are going to react to adversity the very first time. And they, you know, you and I, we had been through some things. By the time we got to certain games, we had been through a lot of games, a lot of preseason, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of film session, and a lot of time off the court. And all of that adds up to what you saw on the court. And when you take that away, you just can't compare the two. It's just so difficult. And, you know, but that comes with experience. You know, I was watching a little bit last night, you know, before I went to bed. What was the last game? Illinois was playing against, I can't remember who Illinois was playing against last night. But there were two teams, and these guys were huge. They had full beards. And, I mean, these guys were 21, 22, 23-year-old men. And, you know, that's what Kentucky's 18-year-olds will turn into. But it's just such a difference. And the talent is always there. But there's nothing like experience. And I think that's kind of one of the things that sets them a little bit behind in the beginning of the season.
So what you think, like, I mean, what adjustments do they need to make? I mean, you know, when we went out there and things didn't work out, the next day you was on blue that day, but the next day he was on white. So yeah. Adjustments like you see being made.
Yeah, great question. You know, so you can't get 3 years of experience in 2 days. So that's out the window. And so you have to figure out how are you going to come together, and how are you going to start trusting your teammate? You know, when you're a high school All-American and things go bad on your high school team, you say, give me the ball and get out of my way, and I'm going to fix this. And there's nothing wrong with that attitude. That's a good, you know, attitude, but it doesn't work in the college game. It doesn't work in the pro game. But that's what they're used to doing. They're used to saying, oh, things aren't working. Give me the ball and get out of my way, and I will fix this. Instead of, you and I know that we've been together for 4 years. Things aren't working. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to what got us here. We're going to go back to, okay, let's get a play. Where's Nazi? Let's get it down to him. Let's get him to the foul line. Let's get an easy bucket. Let's get in our press and let's make something happen. Hey, Wayne's going to call a play. Shep's going to come off a couple of screens, get an open shot. I'm going to get him a shot, and we're going to get back into our system. Open the court, let Wayne drive, do his thing, get to the goal, get to the free throw line. That's how we do it. We don't say, okay, Scott, it's your turn to get the ball and play one-on-one, right? And that's a tendency that I think inexperienced teams have. There's nothing wrong with them wanting the ball and wanting to try to fix things and to take over. But when you're playing against a team that even the Richmond team, they've been through some things. They nowhere close to the talent level, but they've been through some things. And because they've been through some things, we don't shoot it well. They get a little bit of momentum. They start to believe they can win, and you get that result that we end up with.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Definitely experience I've seen out while watching the game. It was, a lot of lack of experience, just as far as playing with each other and understanding each other's game, is what I saw when I was watching that game. So that definitely was a good point. I mean, how soon do you see them getting better? I mean, they're going to see some more teams like Kansas. I mean,
yeah,
and it's especially after the Richmond game. We usually come back and somebody's getting smacked. So, to lose that Kansas game, I mean, how do they bounce back from that?
Yeah. Well, the one thing Coach Cal has proven that he can do is to take a group of young players and develop them and get them playing great. How quickly is that going to happen is up in the air. And I think he kind of sensed it already. He heard his press conference a few days ago, and he was like, maybe I should be taking a drug test or something. That was really funny. But he knows what he has, and this year it seems to be even more so. I mean, with Brooks, with Keion Brooks Jr. being out, that was our main experience, and he's sidelined with an injury right now. I mean, you're talking. Every one of these players did not see the court last year. And it's a whole new dynamic. And with last year's team, we had some returning players, right? And nowadays, if we have a returning sophomore, it's like having a fifth-year senior at Kentucky now, right? It's like, oh, we got a returning sophomore? Oh, that's awesome. And then if we happen to have a junior, oh, wow, we really had a lot of experience this year. You compare that to when we were there, Wayne, you had to be Antoine Walker or Ron Mercer to see the floor as a freshman and a sophomore, because we had so many juniors and seniors that had tons of experience as well. And so just a different dynamic. One way is not right and the other way is wrong. It's just the system that's in place right now. And I'm very, very confident that Coach Cal is going to get everything on track, but they may have to go through some bumps and bruises. They may, as he's projected, and he's like, don't get mad at these guys, get mad at me. But at the end of the day, them going through this may just be the thing that sets them up for a January, February, March run. And we'll forget about all these early bumps and bruises if they have a wonderful run in March.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're missing Keion Brooks Jr. And, he come back, how much you think he helps? I mean, I know he's that guy you was just talking about, that sophomore that feels like that fifth. How much does he help? How much leadership, from last year that he's developed to help lead these guys this year? And he's just in his second year.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping he can bring some strength. I'm hoping he can bring some girth. He's still a thin, athletic player, but there's nothing like going through a college game those first couple of times to realize this 22-year-old I'm playing against is pretty strong. And you see our guys early on kind of bouncing off of other players, and when you look at this year's Kentucky team, I mean, we are thin. I mean, we are really, really thin and super athletic, super long, but there's nothing like being able to hold your position offensively and defensively. And I think it'll come together. I think Keion will help us. I think that, just him coming back into the mix is going to be a kind of a mental and emotional lift for the guys. That, hey, we got some experience back. We're going to learn from this. And Coach Cal is an incredible teacher, motivator. He's going to turn this thing so that the guys realize, hey, we're not as bad as we think we are, and we got some work to do, and we're going to work on these things, and I think things will turn around quickly.
You think this team could be as good as the John Wall team?
See, the John Wall
comparing to somewhat.
Yeah, well, here's what I want to see. Where's DeMarcus Cousins, right? I mean, you're talking about John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, and if they don't get injured in the NBA, they may be in the top 10 players in the NBA right now if they don't have injuries, right? Well, hopefully we have those players on the roster right now. But, Cousins came in and he was a Jamal McGlure type presence in the middle. And, that's one thing that, I think when you compare those two teams, I want to know where that presence is. Where is that toughness and that meanness and that girth and that strength and those rebounds? Where's that going to come from? But it's early. It's early. What concerns me is that the teams that seem to be at the top of college basketball right now look like us. They look like, Gonzaga plays last night against a real good West Virginia team, right? Like West Virginia's got some men out there. They got size, big, strong guys, and so does Gonzaga, and that's a heck of a game last night. And so, I'm concerned about that, but it doesn't matter. We have what we have right now. Those guys are going to have to figure it out, and I think they will.
Yeah, I think over time, being on Cal's staff, definitely, he's definitely in that laboratory beating it up and teaching those guys what they need to do to, get back together. I do have a little sympathy for them because they're not getting the full Kentucky basketball experience due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
Fans are not really, and people don't really, understand how much that helped us.
Yes.
I mean, in a lot of games, just momentum, just gaining momentum and making runs and coming back, either making a long run, blowing them out, or coming back from being down. our crowd is sometimes as low and tough as they could be. You know, we somehow got them in it, and I think for these younger guys, you know, they're missing that, and that's something that will, you know, help them a little bit. But you know, mentally, I used to explain to, you know, kids that I spoke to, it looks easy, but it's not as easy as it looks, you know, on TV.
Yeah.
What do you think about it just struck my mind because they're together again. What do you think about that Russell Westbrook trade and John Wall? I mean, obviously, John Wall's from Kentucky.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I was talking to Stacy last night about the trade, and you know, I thought, you know, Russell Westbrook is such a dominant force on the court. You know, I was confused how Westbrook and Harden were going to coexist. Because they both require the ball most of the game. And so I think from a standpoint of when, I think it's a great opportunity for Houston. I think, you know, John Wall is a player that can really set people up. But it's interesting the way that Harden plays right now. How do you build something around what he does? Because a lot of possessions, Wayne, 4 people are sitting there watching him dribble the ball, and then he does his, you know, step back, and he's very efficient doing that. But I think it's very difficult to play in a game like that, you know. And so it's a very interesting dynamic that Wall's going to be in. For Westbrook, I think he's going to have the opportunity to, you know, dominate the ball once again a lot and make a lot happen. I don't follow all of the roster spots on all the NBA teams, so I'm really not an expert on all of that. But I'm always pulling for the Kentucky guys. I'm definitely pulling for Wall and Cousins, who are coming off these injuries, to come back really, really strong. And so hope that things work out, you know, great for John Wall in Houston.
Yeah, I bring him up because he's one of my, you know, favorite players, one of my favorite point guards to come through Kentucky. And, you know, for me, I see like who's going to step up and be that point guard? You know, put John Wall on this year's team. How good are they then? You know, who's going to be that guy?
Yeah. You put John Wall on any team, and they're going to be really, really good.
John Wall College, John Wall.
And the John Wall College player was incredible, big. But see, there once again, John Wall came into college strong. You know, I love Askew. I love him as a player, but you know, he reclassed to come to Kentucky. He's young. He's really, really young. I love his intensity. I mean, that's a guy that I'm like, yes, great Kentucky basketball player. Can't wait till you're 21 years old. When you're 21 years old and you're playing for Kentucky, you're the best point guard in the country. You're tough. You're going to have a lot more strength, tons of experience. You're going to have shot thousands and thousands and thousands more shots. You're going to know the system better. You're going to know college basketball better. But I don't know that he'll be around in age 21. It's just a different game. So, you know, I'm an old school guy that, you know, likes to, you know, get in a system, pay your dues, be patient. But I had to, Wayne. I couldn't come in and be one and done. You know, people ask me about, you know, could I play for Coach Cal? And I said, I would have loved to play for Coach Cal, but I don't know that he would have recruited me. I mean, I wasn't that type of player. I don't know that he wants to wait 5 years on me for me to figure things out and finally be able to, be a 23-year-old, player in his system. So it's just, again, not right or wrong. It's just, different systems for different eras. And, this has been a conversation that's been going on through the ages, and will continue to go through the ages, and comparing teams from different eras. And it's a very difficult thing to do, but a very fun thing to do also.
Right. And I know I definitely appreciate you coming on, bro. I know, time's running out, but I'm going to give you one more question. Just in, your perception, like every year there's new players.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Cal could bring another one to the Bluegrass, bringing in new players every year like he's doing now, and a totally different, because this is a totally different team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Anthony Davis's team was somewhat different, but this team is totally different. I mean, if they stayed together longer, I mean, how do you think what is your thoughts on him bringing another one home?
Yeah, I definitely think he can. He has the system, he has the experience, he has the ability to recruit, obviously. What's interesting about his championship team, and even the teams that were right there that kind of should have been championship teams, like Karl Anthony Towns' team, even the John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins' team may have been the best team he's had. Those teams, not only did they have incredible young talent, but they had phenomenal big men, right? I mean, you're talking Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, and DeMarcus Cousins are three of the best big men in the world right now. Anthony Davis might be the best player in basketball for a period of time, right? He may already be. He could arguably be in that discussion that he is the best player in basketball right now. So, yeah, if Coach Cal can bring the next best basketball player in the world, it obviously makes things easier. But I do think the combination of a little bit of experience, because you know who was on that team in 2012 was Darius Miller. Darius Miller was a key part of that team. He was a senior, and he had a lot of experience, and he made huge plays for that team throughout that season. And so I think that dynamic is hard to time it perfect. Coach Cal can't, put things on his board and say, well, this is the kid that we're going to have stay for 4 years, and this is the kid we're going to have to stay for 3 years, because, they get in there and then they explode. And Coach Cal loves these kids so much, and he wants the best for them at the next level, that he empowers them to go on and play at the next level. I think Quickly is a great example. I think he was totally planning on playing all of his years at Kentucky. And then all of a sudden, he explodes and he becomes a first-round draft pick. You can't stop these guys from being first-round draft picks. Nobody wants to do that. But at the same time, it does have, an impact on next year's team. And he's done an incredible job of winning games and marching through the tournament. But the tournament's brutal. And, but I believe 100% that he's going to win another championship. It's just a matter of finding that right dynamic, that right mix, and then, getting hot at the right time through the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree with you on that one. And it's tough. Everybody thinks coaching's easy. It's definitely it's definitely something. I can only imagine, being the head coach at Kentucky, and he's definitely done a fairly great job.
Absolutely.
Bro, I know you got to get to work. Big boss man. I definitely appreciate you coming in. It's always good to see you. You know, we're always on the text. That group text could be bringing us back, all the memories we had, and you know, can't wait to see you guys when this COVID-19 things, gets underway. I'm going in the Hall of Fame. I'm definitely expecting you to be there.
Absolutely.
If they have it, which they better. I don't care about this COVID-19. We got to get in there. But no, definitely great to see you, bro. I won't hold you too much longer. Definitely want to thank everyone who tuned into this conversation with my bro, Jeff Sheppard. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and tune in to my next show.